The great hall of Nexus Prime stretched out like a silver ocean under artificial stars. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy sat in their assigned sections, each species grouped together in careful order. The air hummed with translation, devices working overtime, turning clicks and whistles and roars into words that everyone could understand. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim adjusted his simple black suit and looked around the massive chamber. After 3 years representing Earth at the Galactic Council, he still felt small in this place. His section was tucked away in a corner, marked with a small sign that read, Sol System, Third Planet. Most other species had grand banners and multiple representatives. Humans got one man at a metal desk. He did not mind being ignored, it made his job easier. The matter of trade routes through the Kepler sector, announced the council speaker, a tall being with too many arms and eyes like blue fire. The Velkari delegation has the floor. A creature that looked like a walking tree covered in golden bark stood up. Its voice was like wind through leaves. Honored Council, we must discuss the expansion of agricultural imports. The humans have proven quite useful in this regard. Hyunwoo straightened slightly. It was rare for anyone to mention his species during these sessions. Their farming techniques are simple but effective, the Velkari continued. And they seem content to provide food for minimal compensation. Most agreeable, unlike some other newcomer species who make unreasonable demands. A few beings made sounds that might have been laughter. Hyunwoo kept his face blank as he had learned to do. Let them think humans were simple farmers. It served Earth's purposes well. The Threnody representative rose next, a creature with silver skin and way too many fingers. We concur with our Velkari friends. Humans are remarkably peaceful. In 50 years of contact, they have never once threatened military action or demanded territorial expansion. They seem content with their small corner of space, making art and growing crops. More amused sounds filled the chamber. Hyunwoo made a note on his tablet. The Threnody had expanded into 3 new systems just last year, but nobody called them aggressive. Their philosophy is quite charming, added a Zelthian, delicate, its voice like grinding metal. All that talk about peace and cooperation, very different from species like the Kreks or the Mordani, who arrived demanding weapons and territory. The session continued for hours, covering trade disputes, territorial claims, and resource allocation. Humans were mentioned twice more, both times as reliable suppliers of food and basic manufactured goods. Nobody talked about Earth's growing industrial capacity or the new ships being built in lunar orbit. Nobody mentioned the research stations hidden in asteroid fields or the strange energy readings from human space. This was exactly how Earth wanted it. When the session finally ended, Hyunwoo gathered his things and walked toward the exit. The massive chamber slowly emptied as representatives returned to their quarters or meeting rooms. He was almost at the door when someone called his name. Ambassador Kim, said a voice behind him. He turned to see Counselor Vex Prime of the Axiom Collective, one of the more powerful members of the council. The Axiom looked like a cross between an insect and a machine, with metallic limbs and compound eyes that reflected the chamber's lights. Counselor, Hyunwoo said with a polite bow, how can I help you? A question, if you would permit, Vex Prime said, its translated voice carrying an odd tone. Your species has been most cooperative since joining the galactic community. This is unusual for newcomers. We believe in working together, Hyunwoo replied carefully. Earth values peace and mutual benefit. Indeed. The compound eyes seemed to study him. Tell me, do your people ever wonder about the classification system we use for member species? Hyunwoo felt a small chill but kept his expression neutral. I was not aware there was such a system. Oh, there is. For administrative purposes, you understand. Most species are classified as Category 1 or 2, standard intelligence, standard technological development, standard expansion patterns. Vex Prime paused. Your species is listed as Category 3. I see, Hyunwoo said, though he did not see it all. Category 3 indicates above-average potential, but currently limited threat assessment. Quite reasonable for a species focused on agriculture and peaceful trade. Another pause. though some of my colleagues believe your classification may need review. Before Hyun-woo could ask what that meant, Vex Prime turned and walked away, metallic limbs clicking on the floor. 3 sectors away from Nexus Prime, on a world called Kepler 442b, Dr. Jin-A Park wiped dust from her hands and stared at the crystal in her palm. The precursor ruin around her was ancient beyond measure, carved from black stone that seemed to drink in light. She had been working in these ruins for 6 months, part of a joint expedition with scientists from a dozen different species. The other team members were setting up camp for the night, but Jin-A had stayed behind to examine her discovery. The crystal was no bigger than her thumb, but it pulsed with internal light that made her eyes water. When she had first touched it, something had happened. Images had flashed through her mind, too fast to understand. Now, with her portable scanner connected to the crystal, she was seeing something that made no sense. The device showed layers of data, compressed and encoded in ways that pushed the limits of current galactic technology. But at the core, there was something she recognized, a star chart. Not just any star chart, but one that showed the galaxy as it had been millions of years ago. Most of the stars were the same, but the inhabited worlds were completely different. Civilizations that no longer existed, species that had vanished, without trace. And in the section that should show the Sol system, there was an entry that made her blood run cold. The world was not labeled as Earth or Terra or Third Planet. Instead, there was a symbol that her translator could barely process. The closest it could manage was the Forge of Ending or Worldbreaker's origin. Jeannie stared at the translation, certain there had been a mistake. Earth was a peaceful world, known for its art and philosophy and agriculture. There had to be an error in the ancient data. But as she studied the star chart more closely, other details emerged. Reference codes that seemed to link the Sol system to dozens of other entries. Notes in the ancient precursor language that her translator could only partially decode. Something about a great silence and the sleeping children of the ending world. Her hands shook as she saved the data to her personal storage device. This needed to be studied carefully, away from the other expedition members. She had the feeling that what she had found was dangerous in ways she could not yet understand. Meanwhile, in the cargo bays of the merchant vessel Soul's Pride, Captain Taemin Lee was having his own strange encounter. The Zelthian security officer examining his ship's manifest seemed nervous, which was unusual. Zelthians were known for being calm and professional during inspections. This cargo, the officer said, pointing at a line on the display. Basic industrial components, you say? Yes, Taemin replied. Nothing special, standard Earth manufacturing. The officer's metallic fingers clicked against his scanner. We will need to examine these items directly. Taemin frowned. Is there a problem? All our documentation is in order. Compliance protocols, the officer said quickly. For Category 7 species, we must verify all technological exports. Category 7? Taemin asked. I thought humans were Category 3. The officer's compound eyes widened, and he made a sound like escaping steam. I misspoke. Category 3, of course. Please direct me to your cargo bay. As they walked through the ship's corridors, Taemin noticed the officer's continued nervousness. The Zelthian jumped at every normal ship sound and kept glancing at the human crew members they passed. When they reached the cargo bay, he performed the most thorough inspection Taemin had ever seen, scanning every component multiple times. Very thorough, Taemin commented. Regulations, the officer replied, but his voice carried a tone that suggested something else entirely. After the inspection was complete and the Soul's Pride was cleared for departure, Taemin made his way to the bridge. His first officer, Bo-kyung Song, was reviewing their next destination. Strange inspection, she said without looking up from her console. Very strange, Taemin agreed. Bo-kyung, do me a favor. Run a search through the merchant network databases. See what you can find about species classification systems. Any particular reason? Just curious about something that security officer said. That night, as the Soul's Pride traveled through hyperspace toward its next destination, Bo-kyung brought her captain some disturbing news. I found something, she said, handing him a data pad. It took some digging, but there are references to a Galactic Council classification system in several merchant databases. Taman read through the information, his frown deepening with each line. Most species are Category 1 or 2, he said slowly. Category 3 indicates above average potential. Category 4 and above are restricted classifications. That's not the strange part, Bo-kyung said. Look at the security protocols. Taman scrolled down and felt his stomach drop. According to the leaked documents, Category 4 and above, species required special monitoring. Category 5 and 6 needed armed escorts for all interactions. The meeting place was a small trading station on the edge of nowhere, the kind of place where people went to have conversations they did not want others to hear. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim sat in a corner booth of the station's only bar, nursing, a drink that tasted like metal, and waiting. Dr. Ginny Park arrived 20 minutes late, looking over her shoulder as she entered. She wore a simple gray jumpsuit and carried a sealed data case that she clutched like her life depended on it. When she spotted Hyunwoo, she hurried over and slid into the booth across from him. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "I was not sure you would believe my message. Ancient precursor ruins, hidden data about Earth, possible threats to human security," Hyunwoo said. "How could I ignore something like that?" Jinny looked around the bar again, making sure no one was listening. The only other customers were a group of Axiom traders arguing loudly about shipping routes, and a lone Threnody in the far corner who seemed more interested in his drink than anything else. "What I found changes everything we thought we knew about our homeworld," she said, opening the data case. Inside was the crystal she had discovered, along with a portable analysis unit. "This is from the deepest part of the precursor ruins on Kepler 442b. The data inside is millions of years old." She activated the analysis unit, and holographic displays filled the air above the table. Star charts, ancient text, and symbols that seemed to move when you looked at them directly. "This is our galaxy from long ago," Jin'e explained, pointing to the star chart. "Most of these civilizations are gone now. Completely gone. Not just fallen or moved somewhere else. They vanished, without leaving any trace." Hyunwoo studied the display. "What does this have to do with Earth?" Jin'e manipulated the controls and the chart focused on a familiar section of space. The Sol system appeared, but the labels were all wrong. Instead of Earth or Terra, the third planet was marked with symbols that hurt to look at. "The translation system can barely handle these symbols," she said. "The closest it can manage is something like the Forge of Ending or World Breaker's Origin." "That cannot be right," Hyunwoo said immediately. "Earth is known for peace and agriculture. We are hardly world breakers." "That is what I thought too," Jin'e replied. "But look at this." She brought up another section of the data, showing what appeared to be historical records. The ancient text was fragmentary and difficult to read, but certain phrases appeared over and over again. "The Great Silence," Jin'e read slowly. "A time when the star song stopped and the void between worlds grew hungry. The children of the ending world walked among the stars, and where they passed, civilizations became memory." Hyunwoo felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's recycled air. "When did this happen?" "According to the dating systems in the crystal, approximately 65 million years ago." Jin'e met his eyes. "The same time as the Great Extinction, event on Earth, the one that killed the dinosaurs." They sat in silence for a moment, both understanding the implications. Finally, Hyunwoo spoke. "This could be a coincidence. Ancient aliens with similar names, maybe. Or errors in the translation system." "I thought so too," Jin'e said, "until I found this." She showed him another section of data, this one containing what looked like biological information. Genetic codes, physical descriptions, behavioral patterns. And at the center of it all, a genetic template that made Hyunwoo's breath catch in his throat. The template was recognizably human, not exactly the same as modern humans, but close enough that there could be no mistake. The beings described in the ancient records had been human, or something very much like humans. "There is more," Jin'e continued. "References to other worlds, other species that these ancient humans encountered. The record suggests they did not conquer in the usual way. They absorbed, they took the best traits from every species they met, and made those traits their own. Absorbed how? I am still working on the translation, but it seems like they could somehow incorporate genetic material from other species. Not through technology, but through some kind of biological process. They would encounter a new species, study them, and then become better versions of what they had been before. Hyunwoo leaned back in his chair, trying to process what he was hearing. You are saying that ancient humans were some kind of galactic plague that consumed civilizations and then disappeared? Not disappeared, Jin-A corrected. The records suggest they chose to end their expansion. They triggered the extinction event on Earth deliberately, wiping out all traces of their advanced civilization and forcing their own species into evolutionary reset. Why would they do that? I do not know. Maybe they were running from something even more dangerous. Maybe they got bored with conquering the galaxy. Or maybe, she paused, looking troubled. Maybe they were preparing for something. Before Hyunwoo could ask what she meant, his personal communicator buzzed. A message from his assistant on Nexus Prime. Urgent. Captain Lee requests immediate contact regarding security classifications. I have to take this, he told Jinny, then activated his secure communication system. Captain Tae-min Lee's face appeared in the hologram, and he looked worried. Ambassador, I think we have a problem, Tae-min said without preamble. I have been asking questions about the species classification system, and I found something disturbing. What kind of disturbing? The kind that suggests humans are not as unknown as we thought. I have a contact in the black market data trade, an axiom named Click Whistle Hum. He deals in information that governments prefer to keep secret. Hyunwoo glanced at Jin-A, who was listening intently. What did he tell you? According to his sources, there are 2 sets of classification records for every species. The public, ones that most council members see, and restricted ones that only the highest security levels can access. And what does the restricted file say about humans? Tae-min was quiet for a moment. Officially, we are Category 3, above average intelligence, peaceful expansion pattern, low threat level, but the restricted files list us as Category 9. Category 9? Hyunwoo felt the chill return. I thought the system only went up to 7. That is what everyone thinks. But according to Click Whistle Hum, there are higher classifications. Category 8 is for species that could threaten galactic stability. Category 9 is for species that could end galactic civilization entirely. Jin-A leaned forward. Did your contact say anything about why humans have that classification? He said the files are heavily encrypted, and most of the information is above his access level. But he did mention one thing, something about humanity being under ancestral protocols since first contact. What does that mean? Hyunwoo asked. I do not know, but Click Whistle Hum seemed scared when he said it. He refused to dig any deeper, said it was the kind of information that got people disappeared. After ending the communication, Hyunwoo turned back to Jin-A. Your ancient records and his classified files seem to be pointing in the same direction. That humanity is not what we appear to be, she agreed. But there is something else, something I have not told you yet. She manipulated the crystal's data display again, bringing up a new section. This one showed star charts that looked almost current, with familiar constellations and known civilizations. These are not historical records, she said quietly. These are predictions, or maybe instructions. The ancient text talks about the children of the ending world returning when the star songs grow weak again. When will that happen? According to the calculations in the crystal, it already has. The conditions described in these predictions match exactly with humanity's expansion into space over the past 50 years. Hyunwoo stared at the data, pieces of a terrible puzzle falling into place. You think humanity's expansion into the galaxy is not evolution or progress? You think it is the beginning of our species remembering what we used to be? I think, Jin-A said carefully, that the peaceful farmers and artists that the Galactic Council thinks they know may be something else entirely. something that chose to sleep for 65 million years and is now starting to wake up. On the other side of the galaxy, in a secure facility on the Threnody homeworld, Dr. Bo-Ram Choi was having similar thoughts. The linguistics expert had been studying ancient languages for most of her career, but lately she had been finding disturbing patterns. It had started as simple curiosity. After hearing some of the older council members make references to historical precedents regarding humanity, she had begun researching ancient texts from civilizations that predated human space travel. What she found made her question everything. She thought she knew about galactic history. In the dead language of the Kithara, there were warnings about the silent ones who unmake worlds. The extinct Valorian civilization had legends about starwalkers who become what they consume. Even the ancient precursor texts contained references to the children of the ending world and those who sleep between the songs of stars. At first, she had assumed these were different species, or perhaps mythological beings. But as she studied more carefully, patterns emerged. The descriptions were too similar, the time frames too consistent. These ancient warnings were all talking about the same thing, the same species that had emerged from the third planet of an unremarkable star system. 65 million years ago, the emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim had ever seen. Instead of the grand public chamber where regular meetings took place, he found himself in a small, heavily secured room deep in the heart of Nexus Prime. The walls were lined with some kind of metal that seemed to absorb sound, and the air itself felt thick with tension. Only the highest-ranking council members were present. Counselor Prime Zethrin Ka of the Threnody sat at the head of the curved table, their silver skin looking almost gray in the harsh lighting. Fleet Commander Zerion Prime of the Velkari delegation stood near a tactical display, their golden bark-like exterior seeming to shift and move in the dim light. Even the normally calm science advisor Kenth 7 looked agitated, their multiple arms gesturing constantly as they spoke in low tones with other council members. Hyun-Woo sat alone on one side of the table, facing a panel of beings who had clearly been discussing him and his species for some time before he arrived. The weight of their attention was almost physical, and he had the uncomfortable feeling that he was not here as an ambassador, but as a specimen to be examined. Ambassador Kim, Counselor Prime Zethrin Ka began, their translated voice carrying formal tones that suggested this was an official proceeding. We have called this emergency session because certain information has come to light regarding your species. Information that requires immediate clarification. What kind of information? Hyun-Woo asked, though he suspected he already knew. The kind that could change the balance of power in this galaxy, Fleet Commander Zerion Prime said bluntly. We know about the precursor crystal. We know about the classification system investigation. We know about the questions being asked by human researchers across council space. Hyun-Woo kept his expression carefully neutral. Are you saying that humans are not allowed to conduct research or ask questions about galactic history? We are saying, Science Advisor Kenth 7 interjected, that some questions have answers that could be dangerous for everyone involved, including your own species. Counselor Prime Zethrin Ka activated a holographic display above the table. Ancient star charts appeared, showing the galaxy as it had been millions of years ago. Hyun-Woo recognized the data from Jin's crystal, but this version was much more complete and detailed. 65 million years ago, Zethrin Ka said slowly, a species emerged from the third planet of the Sol system and began expanding across the galaxy. These beings possessed capabilities that we still do not fully understand. They did not conquer worlds in the conventional sense. They consumed entire civilizations, absorbing their knowledge, their technology, and their biological advantages. The display showed the spread of this ancient expansion, with entire sectors of the galaxy going dark as the wave of consumption moved outward from Earth. They called themselves humans, Zethrin Ka continued, and they were unlike anything the galaxy had ever encountered. They could adapt to any environment, learn any technology, and incorporate the best traits of any species they met. They were not just intelligent, they were evolutionary perfection given form and purpose. That cannot be true, Hyunwoo said, though his voice lacked conviction. Modern humans are not like that. Are they not? Fleet Commander Zerion Prime asked. Tell me, Ambassador, how many human colonies have failed since your species began expanding into space? Hyunwoo thought about it. None that I know of. Exactly. Every human settlement succeeds, no matter how harsh the conditions. Human technology develops faster than our models predict. Human individuals consistently outperform other species in cross-cultural situations. Your people adapt to alien environments and technologies with an ease that should be impossible. Science advisor Kent 7 brought up another display, this one showing genetic analysis data. We have been studying human biology since first contact, they said. What we found was disturbing. Human DNA contains genetic markers from dozens of species that supposedly went extinct millions of years ago. The display showed complex genetic charts that meant little to Hyunwoo, but the implications were clear. You are saying that modern humans carry the genes of ancient alien species? We are saying that your ancestors literally incorporated those species into themselves, Kent 7 replied. They did not just conquer civilizations, they absorbed them completely. Every useful trait, every evolutionary advantage, every piece of knowledge, it all became part of humanity. Counselor Prime Zethran Ka stood and began pacing around the table. The Great Silence was not a mysterious galactic disaster, Ambassador. It was your species' first expansion phase. In less than 1 million years, they consumed or destroyed every major civilization in this galaxy. Thousands of species, millions of worlds, all reduced to raw material for human improvement. Then they stopped, Fleet Commander Zerion Prime added. Suddenly and completely. The ancient records suggest they deliberately triggered the asteroid impact that ended the dinosaur age on Earth. They wiped out all traces of their advanced civilization and forced their own species into evolutionary reset. Why would they do that? Hyunwoo asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. We have theories, Science Advisor Kent 7 said. Some believe they were avoiding the attention of even greater cosmic powers. Others think they simply grew bored with galactic domination. But the most disturbing theory is that the reset was temporary, a form of hibernation designed to let them return when conditions were right. And you think those conditions exist now? We think, Counselor Prime Zethran Ka said quietly, that humanity's expansion into space was never evolution or progress. We think it was reawakening. Every step your species has taken, from nuclear weapons to faster-than-light travel, has followed the exact same progression as your ancestors. The holographic display changed again, showing modern human space expansion overlaid with the ancient pattern. The similarities were undeniable. How long have you known about this? Hyunwoo asked. We have suspected since before first contact, Zethran Ka admitted. When your species developed atomic weapons, our long-range sensors detected the energy signatures. They matched records from the ancient archives. We began monitoring your world immediately. The peaceful integration into galactic society, the focus on agriculture and trade, the acceptance of a minor role in council affairs, it was all a containment protocol, Fleet Commander Zerion Prime explained. We hoped that keeping humanity satisfied and occupied with simple tasks would prevent the awakening process. But it has not worked, Science Advisor Kent 7 said grimly. Human colonies are thriving beyond all projections. Your people are developing technologies that should take centuries to master. And most disturbing of all, we are detecting energy patterns from human space that match ancient precursor systems. Hyunwoo felt the room spinning around him. What kind of energy patterns? The kind that suggests dormant precursor technology is responding to human presence, Zethran Ka said. Systems that have been inactive for millions of years are beginning to activate as humans expand into space. The Counselor Prime activated one final holographic display. This one showed recent sensor readings from across the galaxy. Energy, spikes, system activations, and technological anomalies all centered around areas of human activity. Your species is not just remembering its past, Zethran Ka said. It is reclaiming its inheritance. The ancient humans built systems and left safeguards throughout the galaxy. Those systems are designed to respond only to their genetic descendants. 2. Modern humans, Fleet Commander Zerion Prime clarified. Whether you are conscious of it or not, your expansion into space is triggering the reactivation of a galaxy-spanning technological network built by your ancestors. Dr. Minho Seo had been brought to Nexus Prime under emergency protocols. His research into human genetics suddenly elevated to the highest priority levels. Now he sat in a secure laboratory, staring at data that made him question everything. He thought he knew about his own species. The genetic analysis equipment around him was the most advanced in the galaxy, borrowed from a dozen different civilizations, and configured specifically to examine human DNA in ways that had never been attempted before. What he found was terrifying in its implications. The locks are dissolving, he reported to the council members gathered around his workstation. Human genetic structure contains dormant sequences that have been inactive for millions of years. But exposure to space environments, alien technologies, and certain energy patterns is causing these sequences to reactivate. What kind of sequences? Science advisor Kenth Seven asked. Enhanced physical capabilities, accelerated learning, intuitive understanding of alien technologies, and... Minho paused, checking his readings again. And something that can only be described as biological integration protocols. Explain, Counselor Prime Zethrin Ka demanded. Modern humans retain the ability to absorb and incorporate genetic material from other species, Minho said quietly. Not through technology or medical procedures, but as a natural biological function. The ability has been dormant, but it is beginning to reactivate. The silence in the laboratory was deafening. How long before the reactivation is complete? Fleet Commander Zerion Prime asked. Minho studied his projections. Captain Junho Kwan stood on the bridge of the research vessel Busan Explorer, staring at readings that made no sense according to everything he knew about colonial development. The ship's sensors were focused on New Seoul, one of humanity's newer colonial settlements, and what they showed defied all projections. Run the scans again, he told his science officer, Dr. Soo-Young Park. I have run them 4 times already, Captain, she replied, her voice troubled. The readings are consistent. New Seoul should be struggling with basic infrastructure development. Instead, they are showing energy output levels that match worlds with centuries of industrial development. Junho studied the data displays floating in front of him. New Seoul had been established only 3 years ago with a population of 50,000. According to Galactic Council development models, colonies of that size typically took decades to achieve self-sufficiency in basic manufacturing capability. What about agricultural output, he asked. 3 times higher than projected despite soil conditions that should require extensive terraforming. Soo-Young brought up additional data. And Captain, they are not just meeting their basic needs. They are producing surplus goods for export to other human colonies. That should be impossible. It should be, she agreed. But it is happening across all human colonies. Every single settlement is exceeding development projections by factors that our economists cannot explain. Junho opened a communication channel to New Seoul's administrative center. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Colonial Administrator Hyejin Ryu, a woman in her 40s who had volunteered to help establish the settlement. Administrator Ryu, Junho said, we are conducting a routine survey of colonial development. Your progress reports show remarkable success. Hyejin smiled, but there was something different about her expression. Her eyes seemed sharper, more aware than Junho remembered from their last communication months ago. We have been fortunate, she said. The colonists have shown exceptional adaptability to local conditions. Your industrial output suggests advanced manufacturing capabilities. Where did you acquire the necessary technology? We have been innovative with local resources, Hyejin replied. Our people seem to have an intuitive understanding of how to work with the available materials. Junho frowned. He had reviewed the colony's equipment manifest personally. They had been supplied with basic tools and machinery, nothing that could account for their current industrial capacity. Administrator, I would like to send a survey team down to document your methods. Other colonies could benefit from your innovations. Something flickered across Hyejin's face. Surprise, perhaps, or concern. Of course, Captain. Though I should warn you that some of our techniques might seem unusual. The survey team that went down to New Seoul returned with reports that made Jun-ho question whether he was dealing with the same species he had known all his life. They are not using conventional manufacturing techniques, reported his chief engineer, Dr. Won-sik Lee. I watched colonists working with raw materials in ways that should not be possible. They seem to understand the molecular structure of substances intuitively, reshaping them through processes I cannot even begin to explain. What kind of processes? Direct manipulation, Captain. I saw a colonist named Min Jun working with a piece of local metal ore. He touched it, concentrated, and the metal reformed itself into complex electronic components. No tools, no machinery. Just direct biological interface. Dr. Su Young added her own disturbing observations. The colonists themselves are changing, Captain. Enhanced physical capabilities, accelerated healing, improved cognitive function. Some of them seem to be developing abilities that border on the supernatural. Give me an example. A colonist named Yu Jin was working on the agricultural systems. She had some kind of plant disease affecting the crops. Instead of using pesticides or genetic modification techniques, she simply placed her hands on the affected plants. The disease cleared up within hours and the plants showed improved growth rates. Jun-ho felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's environmental systems. Did she explain how she did it? She said it felt natural, like the plants were telling her what they needed. Captain, I think the colonists are developing some kind of biological interface capability with alien organisms and materials. The reports continued for hours. Stories of colonists who could operate alien technology without training, who could adapt to environmental conditions that should have required months of acclimatization, who seemed to understand complex systems through direct contact rather than study. And most disturbing of all, these enhanced capabilities were appearing across all human colonies, not just New Seoul. On the other side of human space, similar reports were flooding in from other survey missions. The pattern was consistent and undeniable. Humanity was changing and changing fast. Dr. Min-ho Seo had been transferred to a research facility on Luna to continue his genetic studies under maximum security conditions. What he was discovering made his earlier findings seem trivial by comparison. The reactivation process is accelerating, he reported to the emergency council session via secure communication link. Exposure to space environments and alien technologies is triggering genetic changes at a rate far faster than our original projections. Counselor Prime Zethrin Ka's holographic image flickered slightly as they leaned forward. How much faster? Original. Estimates suggested 50 to 100 years for significant capability development. Current data indicates we may see major changes within 5 to 10 years. And if the process continues to accelerate, how quickly? Fleet Commander Zerion Prime demanded. Months, Min-ho said quietly. Maybe less. The silence that followed was deafening. Science advisor Kenth 7 activated their own display, showing galaxy-wide monitoring data. We are detecting similar patterns across all human space. Enhanced performance, intuitive technology integration, biological adaptation capabilities. And there is something else. The display showed energy readings from human colonies and ships, all displaying similar patterns of increasing complexity and power. Human biosignatures are beginning to resonate with dormant precursor systems, Kenth 7 continued. Ancient technologies that have been inactive for millions of years are showing signs of activation whenever humans are present. Meanwhile, on the Threnody homeworld, human diplomat Seung-woo Park was experiencing the galaxy's changing attitude toward his species firsthand. What had once been polite professional relationships were becoming something else entirely. Ambassador, Park, said his Threnody counterpart Velshen Ka, during what was supposed to be a routine trade negotiation. I must ask you to limit your movements within our governmental district. Is there a security concern? Seung-woo asked. There is unease among our population, Velshen Ka replied carefully. Ancient texts speak of visitors from the ending world, And some of our people believe those prophecies are beginning to manifest. Xiongwu had noticed the change over the past few months. Threnody citizens who had once been friendly and welcoming now watched him with mixtures of fear and fascination. Children were no longer allowed near the diplomatic quarter. Religious leaders spoke in hushed tones about the return of the world enders. I have been on your world for 2 years, Xiongwu said. Why is this becoming an issue now? Because you are changing, Velshenka said bluntly. We can see it, smell it, sense it in ways your translation systems cannot convey. You are becoming something that our species remembers in genetic memory as the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. That evening, Xiongwu contacted Ambassador Hyunwoo through secure channels. They are scared, he reported, not just concerned or cautious, genuinely terrified, and I think I understand why. Explain. I have been feeling different lately, stronger, more aware, more capable. Things that used to require effort now seem natural. I can understand Threnody biological systems just by observing them. I can operate their technology intuitively. And sometimes, he paused, uncertain how to continue. Sometimes what? Sometimes I look at their cities and their people, and I can see exactly how to improve them, how to make them more efficient, more capable, more human. The implications hung in the air between them. Dr. Yansu Han had been working on a joint archaeological expedition when everything changed. The team was exploring ancient precursor ruins on a dead world in the Kepler system, the same type of ruins that had yielded Jine's crystal months earlier. The expedition included scientists from 6 different species, all working together to unlock the secrets of the galaxy's most mysterious civilization. Yansu was the only human on the team, included primarily for her expertise in xenoarchaeology. They had been working on a massive precursor device for weeks, trying to understand its purpose and function. The alien scientists had made little progress, despite using the most advanced analytical equipment available. Then Yansu had touched it. The moment her bare hand made contact with the ancient metal, the device had come alive. Lights flickered along its surface. Energy patterns danced through crystal matrices, and holographic displays filled the air with information that had been locked away for millions of years. How did you do that? Demanded Dr. Vex 7 of the Axiom delegation. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 18 hours straight, and no one had left their seats. The great chamber buzzed with translation devices working overtime as representatives from hundreds of species argued, pleaded, and planned in languages that had never been meant to work together. Fleet Commander Zerion Prime stood at the central tactical display, his golden bark-like skin seeming to shift and writhe as he pointed to the holographic star chart floating above the assembly. The situation is deteriorating faster than our worst-case projections, he announced, his translated voice cutting through the chaos. Human colonies are reporting capabilities that exceed anything in our current understanding of physics. Their ships are moving through space using transportation methods that our sensors cannot even detect. The display showed the galaxy with human settlements marked in red. What had been scattered points of light just months ago now formed a web of connections that seemed to pulse with its own internal rhythm. More disturbing, Zerion Prime continued, is the activation of dormant systems throughout precursor space. Ancient technologies that have been inactive for millions of years are coming online in response to human presence. Science advisor Kenth 7 activated their own display, showing energy readings that made several representatives gasp in fear. These are not random activations, they explained, their multiple arms gesturing at the data streams. The pattern suggests a coordinated awakening of a galaxy-spanning technological network. The humans are not just remembering their capabilities, they are reconnecting with infrastructure their ancestors built. Counselor Prime Zethran Ka raised their hand for silence. When the chamber finally quieted, their voice carried a weight that suggested this might be one of the last official council sessions ever held. The question before us is simple, they said. Do we attempt military intervention while humanity is still in the early stages of awakening, or do we try to negotiate some form of peaceful coexistence? Military intervention against a species that once consumed the entire galaxy? asked the representative from the Mordani collective, their voice rising to a near shriek. You might as well suggest we attack a star. Better to try now than wait. Until they reach full capability, Zerion Prime replied grimly. Every day we delay, they become stronger and more aware of their true nature. On Earth, in a small research facility hidden beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Da-eun Kim was making discoveries that would have seemed like science fiction just weeks before. The seismic monitoring equipment around her showed energy patterns coming from the planet's core that matched exactly with precursor technology signatures. The entire planet is artificial, she reported to the emergency committee that had been formed to coordinate humanity's response to the galactic crisis. Not artificial like a constructed world, but modified. The core has been replaced with some kind of massive energy generation system. Dr. Minho Seo, participating via secure link from Luna, added his own disturbing findings. The genetic locks in human DNA are dissolving at an exponential rate. We are seeing capability improvements in the human population that should take generations to develop. Enhanced physical abilities, intuitive understanding of alien technologies, and most significantly, the emergence of what can only be called biological networking capability. What does that mean? Asked General Kim Hwan Park, the military liaison, to the emergency committee. It means humans are beginning to share information and capabilities at a genetic level, Minho explained. When one human learns to operate a piece of alien technology, that knowledge becomes available to other humans through some kind of biological transmission. We are becoming a networked species. Meanwhile, Captain Woo Jin Lee was experiencing this phenomenon firsthand aboard his exploration vessel, the New Horizon. His ship had been investigating reports of ancient artifacts in the Outer Rim when they encountered something that changed everything. The object was massive, easily the size of a small moon, and it had been drifting in interstellar space for millions of years. When the New Horizon sensors first detected it, the readings suggested it was just another dead rock, the remnant of some ancient cosmic collision. Then they had gotten closer. Captain, reported his science officer, Dr. Jinwoo Kim, the object is not natural. It appears to be some kind of constructed platform or station. Precursor technology? Woo Jin asked. The energy signatures match, but the scale is unlike anything we have encountered before. Captain, I think this might be some kind of automated defense system. As the New Horizon approached the ancient construct, something extraordinary happened. Systems that had been dormant for millions of years began to activate, but instead of targeting the human ship with weapons, they seemed to be welcoming it, Captain, Dr. Jinwoo said, his voice filled with wonder and terror. The system is attempting to establish communication, and it is not using any language in our databases. Then how do you know it is trying to communicate? Because I can understand it, Jinwoo replied quietly. Not through translation, but directly. It is speaking to something inside my mind. The communication that followed would be remembered as the moment humanity truly awakened to its destiny. The ancient defense system did not just recognize the humans aboard the New Horizon, it welcomed them home. The construct was one of thousands scattered throughout the galaxy, all connected through a network that operated on principles beyond current galactic understanding. They were not just weapons or communication stations, but nodes in a vast system designed to monitor and control galactic civilization itself. And they had been waiting 65 million years for their creators to return. Full command authority transferred, the system announced in a voice that spoke directly to the minds of every human aboard the ship. Welcome home, children of the Forge. The galaxy awaits your guidance. Within hours, the knowledge transfer began. Not through computers or data systems, but through the same biological networking capability that Dr. Minho had detected. Every human in space suddenly became aware of the vast technological infrastructure their ancestors had left behind. Transportation networks that could move fleets across the galaxy instantly. Manufacturing systems that could reshape matter at the molecular level. Communication arrays that operated faster than light and could reach every corner of known space. Weapon systems that could crack planets or rearrange star systems, all of it responding to human genetic signatures. all of it waiting to be reclaimed. The effect on the galactic community was immediate and profound. Trade routes that had operated for millennia suddenly found themselves monitored by systems they could not detect or understand. Communications networks experienced mysterious improvements in efficiency and range. Ancient mysteries that had puzzled archaeologists for centuries began revealing their secrets, but only to human researchers. Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim found himself in an impossible position. He was no longer representing a minor species pleading for acceptance into galactic society. He was the voice of the galaxy's returning masters, and everyone knew it. The final Galactic Council session was unlike anything in the organization's history. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in stunned silence as Hyun-woo took the floor, no longer seated in the minor species section, but standing at the central podium reserved for major powers. "Members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice carrying a confidence that had not been there weeks before. "Humanity wishes to address the concerns that have been raised about our species and our intentions." The chamber was so quiet that the hum of translation devices seemed loud. "We understand that our awakening has caused fear throughout the galaxy. We understand that our ancestors' actions 65 million years ago created trauma that still echoes in your species' genetic memory. We understand that our return to power represents a fundamental change in the galactic order." Hyun-woo paused, looking out at the assembled representatives. Many of them would not meet his eyes. "But we want you to know that we are not our ancestors. We have the same capabilities, the same potential, the same technological inheritance. But we also have something they may have lacked: the knowledge of what those capabilities cost." He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy as it existed now, with its diverse civilizations and complex interactions. Our ancestors consumed the galaxy because they could, because it served their purposes, and because nothing could stop them. We have a choice they never made. We can use our capabilities to build rather than consume, to protect rather than dominate, to guide rather than control. Fleet Commander Zarian Prime stood up slowly. "And if we do not accept your guidance? If we choose to resist your return to power?" Hyun-woo's expression remained calm, but something in his eyes suggested depths of capability that had not been there before. "Then you are free to try," he said simply. "But you should understand what you would be choosing to resist." The holographic display changed, showing the network of ancient systems that were now responding to human control. Defense platforms, manufacturing centers, communication arrays, transportation networks, all connected, all active, all waiting for direction. "This galaxy is our birthright," Hyun-woo continued.